Hey everyone, this is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology, and today we're going to take a look at Jupiter's upcoming conjunction with Uranus in the sign of Taurus, which is happening in late April. But I think it's a good time to check in and remind ourselves of what this transit is all about and what we might expect from it based on the configurations of our birth chart. So we're going to do some horoscopes today. These are brief reminder horoscopes. If you watch horoscopes for the month of April, the very beginning of the month of April, you'll find that we go into greater depth, Alex Amorosi and myself. So I feel like it's good when you have major transits of the year to do a few reminders of what the transit is all about and where it's likely to land in your birth chart, what topics are likely to be activated. So this is kind of a reminder video, but also some advice that I have for us. I mean, I think this advice would be applicable for us regardless of whether we're looking at Jupiter-Uranus or any major transits in our birth chart. This is advice, 5 pieces of advice that I've put together today for us to utilize when navigating a big transit in our lives. Even though this one looks, for the most part, most astrologers are agreeing that this looks subjectively like a very positive transit. This transit will manifest in many different ways for many different people. And so this advice is comprehensive, that these are the kinds of pieces of advice that I think are really useful for us no matter what kind of transit we're dealing with, but especially big ones like Jupiter-Uranus. So anyway, that's what we're going to look at today. Before we get into it, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Actually, this makes me laugh. I'm going to read you guys something. This is the most creative, this is my favorite to date, although all of you guys have been giving me such good ones to work with. But literally someone wrote, they used a James Hillman quote from The Force of Character, and they put it in a meme like it was a quote from his book. And they sent it to me in an email, which I reposted on Instagram and YouTube community. Inquisitive curiosity into the like button extends our lives. This is not sharing. It is artful pressing of like. The like button is a fount of like blood, which transfuses vitality into your soul. If you can provoke the like button with your pressing, the force of liking and the lasting life. So they took a James Hillman quote and turned it into a meme about the like button, which completely made my day, maybe even made my year. That was fantastic. Anyway, when you guys like, it does help. When you subscribe and when you share your comments, it helps the channel to grow. You can find a transcript of today's talk or any of my talks on the website, as you guys know, which is nightlightastrology.com. Hey, guess what? This Thursday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, I have my next webinar coming up. If you guys want to attend and learn more about Neptune in love, you go to nightlightastrology.com, click on the events tab, click on live talks. You'll see Neptune in love and register now. It's $20 to attend. And when you register, we send you a link to the webinar, which is again 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern this Thursday, March 14th. If you cannot make it live, we send you a link afterwards so that you can get access to the recording. And so there's, it's a great talk for people who are beginners, but also it's specific enough and focused enough that if you're a more advanced student, of course, this is going to be useful as well. Last month we did Pluto in love. In April, we'll do Uranus in love. And we're looking at how Neptune shows up in love and relationships, either by the birth chart and signatures in the birth chart, or by transit when it's transiting something in your birth chart and involving itself in love, sex, and relationships. So anyway, check that out. Hope to see you guys there this Thursday night. The second thing that I am promoting right now is Ashley's herbal medicine program. Ashley, my wife, you guys know her. You can find her on YouTube at Skyhouse Herbs, and then on Instagram at Skyhouse Herbs. And if you go over to skyhouseherbs.com, you are going to find her herbal apprenticeship course, which starts on April 24th. Right now, there's early bird pricing in effect, and there is also need-based tuition. So if you click on courses, go to Herbal Foundations Apprenticeship, scroll down to learn more about it. It's all pre-recorded, and then there are breakout study sessions that she leads, so you can go through it at your own pace. And at the end of today's video, after the content is done, maybe you've already seen it, but if you haven't, there's an interview that I did with Ashley where we talk about the program and we talk about what the program is all about, what you learn. And so if you stick around after today's content, you'll see that interview tagged on to the end if you want to learn more about it. All right. So promotional material is complete, and let's move on now to the chart on the screen. Hold on if I can get it up. Here we go. All right, then we're going to move forward to April 20th. and remind ourselves of what the heck is going on here. On April 20th, we have the conjoining of Jupiter and Uranus. And my epic pen has disappeared. I feel like my epic pen sometimes is like, oh, you expect something from me? Like, yeah, you're supposed to help me. Hold on just a second. Where is it? Oh my gosh. I don't know where. See, the thing that happened was I have a program that auto updated me to Windows 11, I guess. I had Windows 10 and it just like didn't even ask me. It just changed it. And now I can't find it. All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to show you it. It's right here. You can see my cursor sort of circling it. There's Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus here on April 20th, conjoining at the 21st degree. Now, we'll be talking about this a few more times closer to the date. Today, what I want to do is give you some advice for big transits in general that can help you when it comes through, because there's different things, different tools that we can use when it comes to big transits that we've been spending months talking about or that you're really anticipating. And I have some advice for you that I think might help. The other thing that we want to do today, after we go through the advice for Jupiter-Uranus for everyone, is to look at the 12 whole sign horoscopes on the day that this is happening. And we're going to back this up to Aries rising. And we're going to come back to this in a minute and work through the significations of Jupiter-Uranus through all 12 whole sign horoscopes. These are brief reminder horoscopes. Like I said, we'll be doing more in-depth ones at the beginning of April, and then later in the month, closer to the actual date of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, we'll refresh again. But it's good to refresh several times because I don't know, unless you have your eye on your birth chart all the time, it's easy to forget what houses, which topics are being activated by the upcoming Jupiter-Uranus dynamics. So that's what we'll do today. All right. So by the way, how do you like my new camera view? I decided to switch it. I've always been like a talk this way because then I can look at my chart, my screens really easily. But I actually kind of like this. It's kind of nice to just have a more direct view. But I don't know. Tell me what you think and don't be mean. All right. Let's see. So advice for Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Let's refresh on the meaning, first of all. Jupiter and Uranus together in a conjunction. Conjunctions for ancient astrologers, did you know, were not actually considered an aspect. They were because aspects involve lines of sight between planets in various whole sign house temples. So that means that when one temple is connected to another, it's connected through some kind of geometrical shape that's running through the great circle. A square, a triangle in the trine, hexagon with the sextiles, and so forth, or the diameter that makes the circle into two halves. That means that the planets are offering their significations to one another in what was a kind of courtroom analogy for ancient astrologers. They were testifying to one another and providing their kind of commentary for each other through different kinds of geometric shapes that led to different kinds of relationships. That's aspect theory, properly speaking. When it comes to the connection between planets in a conjunction, it was actually thought of as more of a blending of the significations where the two planets become like one thing. And so Jupiter-Uranus conjoining is really about Jupiter becoming Uranian and Uranus becoming Jupiterian. And the two of them also doing so in the earthy Venusian realm of the bull, the place that is the exaltation of the moon. So very earthy and sensual. All right, what does that mean exactly? Well, Jupiter was a planet of fertility. It ruled semen, for example. It was the progenitor of life. It was a planet whose energetic associations were always with spring and life-giving qualities for plants. It was a planet that was associated with a kind of cornucopia of life and abundance. But also Zeus, Jupiter in the Greek, was associated, broadly speaking, with all that gives coherence and unity and virtue and like meaningful order to life. So ideally, in a civilization, that would be the courts of law, the justice system, different kinds of religious or spiritual customs and temples and educational systems. And now in our day and age, like in really for thousands of years, has there ever been an example at any time where all of those institutions are operating in an ideal way without corruption? No. But you have to remember that Jupiter is speaking to the archetype or the ideal of justice, coherence, meaning, unity, order, in a civilization. So ideally speaking, Jupiter is the cosmic orchestrator, the thing that gives us that sense that we live in a moral, just, fair, balanced, whole, cohesive cosmos. Therefore, Jupiter is associated with wisdom and understanding and law and order, but not in a punitive or authoritarian sense. In the same way that when you start learning, let's say you start learning about nutrition and you start eating better and you start feeling better, it's very Jupiterian, especially in a sign like Taurus that's so physical and earthly. Jupiter and Taurus, I've seen countless times showing up in the charts of people who study nutrition, for example, or who study massage or some kind of bodily science, earthly science, biology. And the understanding can lead to greater harmony and health and well-being. That's a kind of Jupiter and Taurus signification. There's many other examples, and of course, there are shadows too. But Jupiter, in this sense, is a bringer of abundance and life and understanding and coherence. And in Taurus, this primarily has to do with things like love and security and sensuality and enjoyment and pleasure and luxury, and a feeling that the earth is a beautiful kind of paradise garden that's fluid and harmonious and enjoyable. Those are some of the highest values that Taurus has. And there's a dimension of all of our lives that falls in line with the Taurus worldview. We all seek on some level to have an existence that's easy, smooth, enjoyable, and stable. That's not all we value, right? If that was all we valued, we might be called materialists, or we might be hedonists, which are some of the shadows of Taurus, like the Minotaur is the shadow of the bull. So anyway, keep all of that in mind with Jupiter and Taurus. And then we have Uranus. And Uranus in Taurus brings the idea, the Promethean torch. The planet Uranus has been, by modern astrologers, since the discovery of Uranus, has often been associated with Prometheus in the Promethean mythology. Prometheus as a light bringer is progressive, inventive, defiant, rebellious, original, likes to break out of established traditions or patterns for the sake of something new and innovative and maybe better. However, there's also a tendency toward disruption, and rebelliousness and revolution often come with blood, right? We know that historically. So Uranus will often break boundaries, but sometimes at the cost of burning bridges, or sometimes at the cost of, offending people who prefer the way that things are or the way that things have been. Uranus in this sense is like a lightning bolt that can illuminate it suddenly and liberate, but also can strike in a way that is sometimes even like erratic and destructive. But when you put the two together with Jupiter, something that grants coherence, a bringer of life, and then this sudden bolt of progressive breakthrough originality, that's where you get such positive significations. That's why we're all talking about this as a transit that can revolutionize things, especially things related to Venus, to the moon, to the fixed earth sign of Taurus and its values and its worldview, which include the values of, abundance, fertility, pleasure, sensuality, stability, all of these kinds of things. Now, again, the degree to which this transit may bring all of these qualities wrapped up in the shadows of something like hedonism or materialism and this kind of narcissistic, materialistic quality combined, like that certainly could be there as a shadow. But thinking of the most positive things, you think about, how can my life be easier, simpler, more peaceful, fertile, lush? Think of making our lives into a garden and getting out of an office building that has no light or no plants. And Jupiter-Uranus is looking for that kind of freedom. So just using these as metaphors, right? So all of that sounds great. Here's my advice. Whether it's this transit or any transit, here are 5 pieces of advice that I have for you that I think will help, because when we get so excited about a transit like this, it's easy to lose ourselves. And it's easy to lose ourselves in very particular ways with big astrological transits, whether it's eclipse season or, I don't know, back in the day, I remember Saturn-Pluto conjunction. Remember that one? People really lost their shit. People really lost their shit with that one. And I do too. And so what do I do? What do I recommend? What do I see working for, students and clients over the years? What have I heard from you guys over the years, that works? Advice for Jupiter-Uranus. Number one, don't expect anything. I know that sounds weird because we're sitting here telling you what to expect. Here's what to expect. 5 things to expect. But don't expect anything literal. Don't expect you're going to win the lottery. Don't expect you're going to get a promotion. Don't expect you're going to meet the love of your life. In other words, and by contrast, if you have it in some place in your chart that you're fearing, I don't know, maybe you have it happening in the 12th house and you're scared that something's going to come up from the unconscious space that's really difficult. Don't expect that either. Don't expect anything. Stay awake, stay present. You can be excited. There's nothing wrong with being excited, but don't attach any specific outcome expectations. It's a big deal because when we do that, when we're like, oh, I know what this is going to, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Sometimes it will actually amplify the level of shock or fear that we have when something happens that's a little bit more challenging. So what I like to say for all big transits, and something I've learned from going through a lot of them myself and seeing so many clients through them, don't expect anything specific. Don't get enamored by some specific possibility you have in mind. Because even if it does happen, we want to maintain equanimity. That's my second piece of advice for a major transit like this. Maintaining equanimity to me looks like this. Oh my God, I got a promotion under the Jupiter-Uranus transit. Like one of the better things maybe that I had and that could happen if, let's say it's happening in your 10th house or your second house, you get a windfall or you get a promotion or something. Still, you should go, interesting. Cool. I'm thankful. But don't freak out. You know what I mean? When great things happen, go, thank you. That's amazing. Wow. You can be excited, but don't lose yourself. Don't lose yourself. Don't forget that who you are on the inside, your heart, your soul, your mind, you are just as beautiful today as you will be tomorrow. And nothing can add to that or take away from that on a soul level. Not even the best things from a transit. You got to maintain that equanimity, whether we're in receipt of something really great from a transit or it's really difficult. And the same thing happens when it's difficult. Go, okay, well, that's what it is. And now how do I respond? From the heart, from the soul. We stay humble when really good things happen. Wow. Okay. Wasn't expecting that. Geez, that's great. You don't sit there and go, well, of course I deserved this. I was anticipating that this great thing would, you know what I mean? It's like stay humble and maintain your equanimity. It's really important because equanimity shows us that it shows the gods that we're capable of handling success or that we're capable of handling difficulty. And I really think that that's when more doors open for us to develop our gifts, to be of service, to move into deeper and more meaningful relationships, because we show through equanimity that we're mature, that we're capable of more, we're capable of loving more deeply. We're capable of giving more deeply. We're capable of receiving more deeply when we show that in the midst of a transit delivering something really amazing or something really challenging, we just go, okay, thank you. All right. Just keep going. Stay humble. Doesn't mean you can't get excited, but it's just like, don't lose yourself. I think that's really what it is. Number 3, tap into your appreciating capacity. There's nothing better for developing happiness in life. Let me put it this way. I think that happiness in life is equivalent to how we are able to develop an appreciating capacity. Can I appreciate more deeply things that happen to me, around me, things that I do, things that I say? Can I develop an appreciation that might be comedic appreciation, intellectual appreciation, artistic appreciation, sensual appreciation? I mean, any kind of appreciation. Doesn't mean you have to assign a particular meaning to something, but can you develop an ability for any and all experiences to be, another word might be interesting. That's interesting. Can you appreciate, because when transits come through and we appreciate, essentially what we're doing, understanding that these transits are reflections of the archetypal powers of a sentient universe that is alive and relational, that's interacting with us through the themes and patterns and events of our lives, and we develop an appreciating capacity. Essentially what we're saying is, to the gods, we're saying, I appreciate you. That's interesting, fascinating, intelligent, beautiful. Wow, that's really difficult, but fascinating. You know, if we can keep that perspective, it doesn't have to be right away. Sometimes we have to freak out a little bit. Sometimes we've got to just like dunk our head in some water or something. But like, can we keep our appreciating capacity? If we can, then the gifts of the transits multiply, because it's our ability to appreciate them that starts unlocking like multiple dimensions of what they have to say or give or what they are. Number 4 is avoid certainties. Oh, I am absolutely certain that this is happening, or that this just happened through this transit because of this. Certainty and like interpretive, literal certainty about what a transit is, why it's happening, what it means, is the quickest way to shut it down. And rather than letting the transit be the expression of a living universe that wants a relationship with us, we think about it as a kind of celestial mechanic that has a reason, that needs a reason, or that we've discovered a reason. And doesn't that make us smart and in control? And none of that is relational. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I've learned this a lot from having two girls and my wife, and being sort of, you know, like man-brained about things sometimes. If my wife comes in or my daughters come in and they're wanting to tell me about something that's happened, there's a little tempting part of my like rational man brain that's like, well, this is the reason that that happened, right? Immediately. I mean, how many times have I gotten the feedback? I'm actually a lot better at it now, I think. You get the feedback, and probably this happens in all relationships. It's not just a, you know, a gender thing. Get the feedback. I just want to be heard. I just want you to say, wow, that must be really tough. Or, wow, can you believe that? Or, you're like, interact with me as my friend, as my spouse, as my, you know, like a listening dad, like whatever. But don't interpret, because it kills something that is relational, that's at the forefront of what I'm actually seeking, which is connection. Can we imagine that these transits are not happening for a reason as much as they are happening to connect with us? Because when we stay connected, we stay happier. Like, it's true. Like, connection, even if the connection is challenging, or there's things about the connection that aren't always easy, most of us feel better with connection than without. And so be careful when transits express themselves of approaching them, trying to find a reason and becoming real certain about what the reason is or the interpretation is. Imagine the universe going, I wish you just listen to me. I wish you just talk to me like a person. Quit trying to decode and give a reason to everything I'm saying to you. All right. Number 5 is to stay curious. All right. So staying curious is, you know, tantamount to maintaining equanimity, or not expecting anything, or tapping into your appreciating capacity. It's just a different way of saying the same thing. When something happens, especially if you don't know why, and sometimes when good things happen, we're like, is this a trap? We're like, are you fucking with me? Are you? It's like, you know, it's like in the cartoons, you know, where the Wile E. Coyote is like starting to become wise. He's like, all right, I know that there's like a sledgehammer that's going to hit me on the head. And no matter what he does, trying to be a little bit wise, he ends up getting hit on the head. Well, we think that way sometimes when good things happen, right? But it's important that we, you know, not that we want to be afraid at all, like, but we do want to stay curious. Amazing. I'm not going to assume that I get an A grade in life and that I've gotten an A grade and that's why this good thing is happening. I'm just going to stay curious. I'm going to stay open. I'm going to stay interested. And same things when difficult things happen. We don't assume that it's like, oh my God, I just didn't manifest enough. You know, I didn't, whatever. I can say a million. I have a million cynical jokes in my brain, and I'm just going to avoid them. Stay curious, stay open when good or bad things happen. Staying curious means staying invested in the God who is speaking. And that relationally bodes well. Like, Things go well when we stay curious, because staying curious means staying attentive to a living presence rather than some kind of code that needs to be cracked. These are the pieces of advice that I would give to anyone for any major transit, especially ones that we anticipate. I thought I would throw those out there before doing some brief reminders of Jupiter, Uranus through the whole sign horoscopes. Hopefully that is useful to you. If not, stay curious. All right. So we're just going to do these like kind of brief run throughs. You guys know I like to do these sometimes. So if you are an Aries rising, this is happening around resources. What kinds of breakthroughs, originality, inventiveness what is happening for you around the development, acquisition of money and resources? Could be things that you're building, could be a breakthrough in how you're handling money. But look at that house of money, values, resources as the location of the upcoming transit. That's Aries. For Taurus, it's in the house of identity, health, body. Are you changing are you changing the way in which you take care of yourself on any level, body, mind, health, diet? Is your identity changing somehow? Are you ready to break free from previous limitations and reinvent yourself in some way? So consider breakthroughs around your very identity and sense of self, as well as body and health. With Geminis, we're talking about the 12th house, which is a peripheral spot, a peripheral blind spot. It's like a place we can't see. So what kinds of breakthroughs are happening right now in an unconscious way, a way that could appear almost like something you have no control over, or something that is coming up in a place that's really unexpected that you didn't see coming? This breakthrough may be helping you to evolve or to become more conscious, or to integrate parts of yourself that maybe haven't had a fair, like, what do I want to say? Like they're underrepresented parts of yourself that are seeking more conscious participation. Look for that house of the unconscious for the space in which the breakthrough is happening. If you're a Cancer rising, this is around friends, groups, and communities of people. There is maybe new groups, new people, new opportunities, the establishment of new allies or colleagues. And this is something to be really excited about if you're a Cancer rising, that this community aspect of life is really awakening right now. If you're a Leo, it's in the career house. Are you taking a step forward in your career? Are you revising or changing courses? Are you getting a promotion? Are you getting excited about a new skill or subject you want to start moving in the direction of professionally? Maybe a totally new career field that's opening up. But watch for it in the house of vocation. And if you're retired, remember for that 10th house, it can be hobbies or interests that you have, things that continue to engage you in the world outside of your home, things that engage you in the public somehow. Even if that means taking a course about something online, it's really just where are the hobbies, interests, and activities that are keeping you engaged with the world and are not simply it's the 10th house is in retirement. Is just like anything that isn't leisure. You know what I mean? For Virgos, we're looking at the 9th house. It's a place of our beliefs. You're thinking right now about freeing yourself from restrictive paradigms, thoughts, or beliefs, opening your mind to new subjects, teachers, teachings, religious or spiritual inclinations, maybe even travel abroad. That's Virgos. Now, for Libras, we're thinking about the 8th house, which is a place of being, in this case, being freed from various soul contracts. This is a place where, sometimes deaths occur, but often metaphorical. So the kind of death and rebirth, and the liberating of debts and of any kind of contractual obligations that you have to people as a matter of, like karmic bondage that you could be free from. As well as maybe new kinds of contracts that provide new resources that are exciting, but that require some kind of collaboration or some kind of joint venture. You think about karmic contracts and debts being paid off and the death and rebirth that liberates. Those are the signatures of the 8th house. Now, for Scorpio rising, we're talking about the house of love and relationships, the 7th. And so quite literally, you're looking at breakthroughs around love, sex, and relationships. Now, that could mean meeting someone new. It could mean getting out of a relationship or into a new one. It could be about something shifting really dramatically and powerfully for a partner. which might involve like something in their personal life or their job, but it's exciting to see them going through some kind of breakthrough. It could also mean that sexuality is awakening or opening in some way. It could also mean that there are opportunities for, interpersonal connections that are helpful in creating breakthroughs for you in terms of like the people or partners that you're joining with in other respects, not just like relational or romantic. All right, so for Sagittarius, we work into the 6th house. And here we really have one of the more interesting placements, I think, because the 6th house is a place of work and sacrifice. Now, sacrifice on behalf of things that we love or things that we feel are worth fighting for, as well as things that require, and if we're going to succeed, we really have to work hard in order to get there. So Jupiter-Uranus here to me looks like your efforts are leading to a breakthrough. The sacrificial efforts that you've been making over time are leading to positive results. Now, that could be also with respect to overcoming challenges or hardships or things that have been frustrating, and suddenly you're finding that there's a breakthrough. I am overcoming something that has been an obstacle or a difficulty. Or I know that I'm feeling inspired to do something that will require a lot of work, but will lead to success if I keep at it. And there's the inspiration to do something like that. All right. With Capricorn, we move into the 5th house, a place of creative fulfillment, pregnancy and children, as well as joy and happiness. For Capricorns, there's an emphasis here on, Capricorns, again, tend to be like work first, play later. This might be about reprioritizing and saying, let's place a little bit more emphasis on joy, pleasure, and creativity, and not feel like we can't do those things until, duty has been done or we've accomplished enough to allow ourselves space for leisure. So I like the idea of placing more of an emphasis on creative fulfillment, happiness, joy, which might also come with something like bringing children into the world, which for a lot of people, even, often like the hardest workers, children will help soften rough edges. So anyway, the 5th house may also here speak to the need for romantic spontaneity, either creatively, sexually, but I like those themes for Capricorns. All right, so for Aquarius, we move into the 4th house, just the place of home and family, of roots, land, property, ancestry. Jupiter-Uranus here could certainly signify very, the most obvious things like moving, relocating, renovating, remodeling, buying land or property, moving on. You're going to move into some kind of earth-based pagan nature community, commune. Jupiter-Uranus could also mean that there is a liberation from old family karma taking place, and that liberation is about almost like turning over the soil, aerating it. Is that what they call it? Turning the soil over around the past, and liberation happening with respect to home and family karma. All right, well, last but not least, always Pisces. In the 3rd house, this is the environment that you live in mentally, emotionally. And you think about it, I always use this analogy. You guys have probably heard me use it a million times. It is the world of the fish tank. Now, the fish may have a little rock that it lives in, which is like the 4th, but the rest of the fish tank is its local environment. That the other fish, the neighboring fish, it is maybe your sibling fish that have other little rocks around the area. It's the culture that you live in, right? The culture is kind of like maybe the algae and the plants and stuff like that. When Jupiter-Uranus comes in, it is suggesting that a major change in your environment is needed. And it might be correlated with a need for a change in mind, mood, attitude, thinking, thoughts, learning, communicating, all different things that are coming as a means of some kind of revolution that needs to, as a means of enacting a revolution in the environment. That's what I'm trying to say. So watch for that in the house. And that can also come in through learning or an emphasis on different topics or like a change of scenery or something like that. And also major karmic transformations around home and family and things that are connected through your roots to home and family, like siblings or people who are like family to you. So really interesting there that we have for Pisces, by the way, this can also be related to the fact that Saturn is traveling through your 1st house. People tend to get really clear when Saturn's in their 1st house about their yeses and their nos. And when you're really clear about what isn't working, and then you get clear about what is working, that can be one of the subtle ways in which Saturn is actually very innovative. And which is why Saturn, for example, is often associated with, or was the traditional ruler of Aquarius, which is a sign that has so much to do with progressive things in contrast to things that are thought to be old or not working any longer. Because when you get really clear on the no, the yes is there as a natural kind of juxtaposition. And that's why Saturn, the ruler of opposites, was the ruler of a sign that was thought of as so paradigm shifting and original and progressive in Aquarius. It's a Saturnine thing for ancient astrologers, that juxtaposition between the new and the old. Anyway, the point is that when Saturn's making that clear to you in your first house about what you are and are not, and then you see Jupiter-Uranus in the third, get this feeling that the things that you're clear about, that these are my no's, are leading to maybe some major breakthroughs in what needs to change around you to support your yeses. Okay, well, anyway, just a brief run through. I hope that this was useful for you, the tips, everything. Don't forget this Thursday night, if you go over to nightlightastrology.com, you are going to find the sign up. Let me just put it back up on the screen. If you go to the live talks under the events page, you're going to find the sign up for my Neptune in Love talk. We're going to be discussing what Neptune likes to do and what it likes to teach us and how when involved in love, sex, and relationships in the birth chart. Neptune, Venus, Neptune, 7th house. Transits of Neptune to the 7th, the ruler of the 7th, transits to Neptune and the moon, Neptune and Venus. We're going to talk all about Neptune in love and give you guys some good insights. And this is really good for beginners or intermediate students. You can register on the website, and then we send you a link. If you can't make it, we send you the recording afterward. And then don't forget to stick around, because after I sign off here, there's an interview with Ashley that I did. If you have not yet seen it, stick around and learn more about her herbal program, which is you can learn more about at skyhouseherbs.com, and which starts on April 24th. All right, that's it for today. Hope you guys have a good one. Bye. Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for sticking around. I'm really happy to be joined by my wife, Ashley, who is an herbalist. Hi, Ashley.
Hey.
And yeah, I'm really excited to be helping Ashley promote her upcoming program, which is something that you actually began teaching many years ago, this herbal apprenticeship program. I think it was, 2011 or 12 that it got started, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been over 10 years I've been offering this course, and yeah, it's my favorite thing to teach.
Yeah. And just to be clear, because some people on my channel, most people know you because you pop on here or there. We talk about herbs and astrology. There's an attraction in our marriage and an attraction in the subject matter that is old. Like, we've been together for, 14 years in our relationship going on. And we've always had a fascination with each other's areas of expertise, and we've done lots of things to marry them together over the years, in addition to literally getting married. And and actually, herbalists and astrologers have married the subjects of herbs and planets together for thousands of years as well. Now, your program is focused on, herbalism. It's not an astrology course, but there is certainly a lot of overlap in terms of the energetics and the spiritual approach to herbalism that you take. And so I was hoping that we could start off just by telling people a little bit about the program. You're coming to this after taking a little bit of time on maternity leave. Our kids were not yet in school. Now they are. You're coming back to work. This is really exciting. The new program launches at the end of April. I'm going to put it up on the screen so people can see it. You can find it at skyhouseherbs.com. Enrollment is open now. The course begins. You go under Courses, Herbal Foundations Apprenticeship at the end of April. Tell us about it.
Well, this course, I guess my goal in redesigning the apprenticeship course that I've been teaching for 10 years is to make it even more personal and to allow people to study the material, digest it at their own pace. So what it's going to be is a combination of kind of three main parts. The first one is the recorded material. So there's going to be modules that will be released, and people can listen to them as they have time. The second part are live classes, where we will meet live on Zoom and talk about the module, I'll answer questions, I'll give even more information about it. And then the third part is the sacred plant pairings. And so I've always taught the herbal portion, like the plant diets, one at a time, but this year I'm going to do it in pairs because I think you can learn a lot by comparing and contrasting herbs. So for every module, you'll have 2 herbs to study, and you'll get a little cheat sheet about them before you start the module. And then you'll have an opportunity to work with those 2 plants and blend them and keep them separate and just really work with them closely. Because my goal is that I want people to be able to find information that they can really use in their own lives, maybe with clients, whether they have a professional herbal practice or maybe they're a therapist in a different field, that they'll know these plants so that they can work with them really comfortably.
I love the different modules that you have, just so we can preview them for people. Module 1 is Vitalism and the Heart of Herbalism. Module 2, Building Your Home Apothecary. They're so diverse. I love Module 3 is my favorite, Plant Spirit Medicine. Energetics and chemistry. You have such a holistic approach. It's what I've always loved about your teaching. You'll teach about the doctrine of signatures. You'll talk to people about how to communicate with plants, how to think of them as teachers that are living beings, that have personalities, that aren't just, phytochemistry or whatever. But you will also teach phytochemistry. And I think that you have this really well-rounded way of helping people be intelligent about the plants, about the body, about the systems of the body, but also not afraid to use energetic systems, not afraid to take something from the kinds of energetics that ancient mystics were working with, whether that's the elements or whether that's, some of the overlay with things like Ayurveda, Chinese medicine. You take what's useful on a symbolic and energetic plane and on a personal connection level with the plants, and you marry it to really smart scientific research. I think that's rare. You don't see that a lot.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, to me, it's all language. They're just different languages that we talk about the same thing. And I think the more diverse our languages as herbalists, the more we can reach more people. And that's kind of my goal. Like, I want everyone to be able to identify plants, use plants. So we need to diversify the languages we speak so we can talk with our physicians, so we can talk with a therapist, we can talk with a mystic, right? We can talk with children, and we have a language that everyone can use.
You talk in the program, in your modules, you have stuff on digestive and gut health. You have stuff on detoxification, colds and flus, and dealing with virus seasons. You talk about tissue states, and you're talking about how to give things to your kids for, helping them maybe at times even relax before bed at night. We use a lot of different things with our kids. I love this, that you have called this I'm going to find the phrase where you use, and I'm going to mess it up. A community herbalist. What is a community herbalist, so that people can understand that definition? Because sometimes people might look at a course like this and think, gosh, unless I go to an accredited university for 8 years and learn all about chemistry, I have no right or business suggesting herbs to people or using herbs. That's just not true. And that's not the history of how folk herbal medicine has been used or taught. So what do you mean when you say community herbalist?
I think you said it perfectly. This is the people's medicine, and our grandmothers and great grandparents used plants as medicine. There's nothing actually that hard about the practice of herbal medicine. It's just getting to know the plants and getting to know the times when they're most useful. I really envision that this course, people can take it and yes, use it for themselves, number one, because I think a lot changes when we have the personal experience, and then using it in your family, whether that's just, maybe making a tea for your dog, or, if you have kids, or maybe you just have a partner, maybe you have plants you can use, and we'll talk about taking care of a garden, but using it for yourself, for whoever's immediately around you, and then taking it beyond that, because it's likely that at some point, you're going to be talking with someone. They're going to say, oh, I've got this digestion thing and I've tried this and this. And they might say, hey, you're studying herbs. Is there anything that you would recommend? And you know what? You'll probably have a few ideas. And that, you never know how one way that you help someone out there in the world might trickle and then help others and more people. So I think through the self-knowledge and studying this knowledge in your own body, it'll naturally, it's like, you know, impossible for it not to spread out and start to affect the broader community.
Yeah, I think that's really important. This is also for that reason, because we have a vision. I mean, you guys know through my Kickstarter, you guys helped us build a community herbal medicine garden that Ashley's been hosting free and donation-based events out of, that the donations go back to right back into the garden and just growing the medicine that we then find ways of harvesting and giving to other people or letting other people come and harvest. We have a vision, and we always have, back to the days when we had our yoga studio in Maryland. We have always had a vision of making this sacred knowledge accessible to people. And that is both there in this program in terms of the way you're framing what it means to be an herbalist. It might mean that you're a professional and you see clients, and you could continue beyond this program developing the skills to do that. This would certainly set you up for success. You could also go forward and be someone who uses what you know with friends and family and yourself. And that's an incredible set of tools to have. The program's also very accessible from both a programming standpoint and a price standpoint. I'm gonna take you back over and show everybody the programs. The modules are pre-recorded, but then you meet outside of the modules for discussion, community, Q&A, and sort of development and integration. So people can attend those live. If they miss those integration sessions, they can also watch the replays of those. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
anyone could take this at their own rate, you know, as slowly or as quickly as you wanted to, really soak it in, or blaze through it. And, you know, and then we can certainly, beyond this program, as Ashley perhaps makes more advanced programs available as she's easing back in out of maternity leave, can help you with further development or recommend you to many other wonderful programs where you could continue your studies. We want this to be accessible. We want community herbalism to be, you know, as simple as being able to show a friend a couple of yoga stretches. We should be able to show each other herbs, you know, and just, hey, this is a helpful herb to use. Also, accessibility price-wise, we have an early bird enrollment, and we have standard enrollment. And then we have tuition level 1 assistance and tuition assistance level 2, which break out the affordable tuition into different levels of affordability. And you can kind of identify where you're at if you're someone who wants to take this program, but needs to work within your means and not hurt yourself doing it. And then for those who can pay, we ask that you use standard or early bird enrollment. And that's the same thing I do for all my astrology programs. So we try to keep it super, super accessible. The Herbal Apprenticeship program starts April 24th. I know Ashley's super excited to be getting back into teaching too. I also would like to offer Ashley just a chance to tell everyone a little bit about, before we end here this interview, tell everyone maybe a little bit about your own background, who you studied with, what your influences are, and just anything else you want to say before we cap it off.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think, you know, I started off as a kid playing in the woods, you know, mixing perfumes and potions. And then I went on to study environmental science, where I studied organic chemistry and restoring native wetlands. And really from an environmental perspective, that's how I got into herbalism. And then after, you know, I realized after working on the restoration piece and joining a lot of earth advocacy groups, that the problem's not with the earth, but with the people not understanding the value of the earth. So then I started going into holistic medicine. I graduated from the University of North Carolina, Asheville, with a degree in interdisciplinary studies. And I went on to get my that was my undergrad. And then I got my master's from the Maryland University of Integrative Health. It was then called Tai Sophia. But my teachers there, you know, I had such a great blend of teachers, really scientific minds, like Simon Mills from the UK, and Kevin Spellman, who is like a chemistry genius, who's also an Ayurvedic practitioner, who studied with Dr. Vasant Lad. Matthew Prisco, medicine maker from Galen's Way out in California. So I had a really wonderful, diverse variety of teachers in that 3-year full-time master's level program. And then after that, I went on to study with Matthew Wood pretty intensively because I liked his energetics. I liked the way he spoke about the plants and his personal experience working with low dose, drop dose medicine. And he has had amazing you know, he's done such amazing work herbally with just using that method. And gosh, I could I've got a lot of herbalists in my
David
basket.
Duke comes to mind, and
Jim Duke,
or Jim Duke. Sorry,
Jim
my bad.
Duke, Margie Flint, Rosemary Gladstar is like, I've only done one herb walk with her, but it was amazing. So, you know, I have shelves of herbal books and people who I just adore.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel really grateful that I've had that blend of the science and the energetic herbalism and the traditional herbalist perspective as well. And I try my best to blend them together and to give everyone a really diverse yet integrated herbal studying experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You get that. That is exactly what you'll get if you sign up for Ashley's program, which I encourage you to do. If this is the kind of thing that interests you, you won't regret it. It's a fantastic course with someone I absolutely love, obviously, but also like a really, truly fantastic human being and teacher of plant medicine. And if you want to learn more about her, see her work, get to know her a little bit, check out her YouTube channel, Skyhouse Herbs, where she publishes weekly on plant medicine, plant energetics, and also on Instagram, which is Skyhouse Herbs. So the apprenticeship program starts April 24th. I wanted to get Ashley on, brag about her program, turn you guys on to it. Thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I'm sure that we're going to see some people from the Nightlight astrology world getting introduced to you and all of your magic.
I would love that. Thank you.
All right. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.